Yes, sir.
The busted video by flexyourrights.com. Are you familiar with that?
I've seen it, yeah.
Well, we see that we like to show it to folks to try to educate them on their rights during traffic stops and other situations, the knock and talk. Is that a good video, good example?
It's as good as some of the traffic offenses I've seen. I've got one client from Alaska who was very well educated to the whole concept of stops, his rights during the stop. It's like you planned to get stopped, and he did. And he was stopped 3 times in 45 miles by our Arkansas State Police. Finally, on the 3rd stop, they found the drugs. But he was stopped, searched with a drug dog twice, and they found nothing. Let him go, and then finally on the 3rd stop, they found something, and that was in Polk County. But we haven't gotten ready for the suppression hearing yet because it's a ways away, but we're going to subpoena both telephone records, and we're not going to have radio transmissions of the telephones, but to see if they called ahead to tell them this guy's coming, look for him and stop him when you see him, because he's got something, we just can't prove it. Because if he had it in the dog, the 1st stop, and the dog would have alerted, I mean, it would be great cross-examination. So the dog didn't alert twice, and then you stopped him yet a 3rd time, ostensibly for a traffic offense, and the guy said, after being stopped twice, you think I was speeding? And he did everything he could, and he swears that the drugs was only about 40 pounds of marijuana. It was so well packed that it couldn't be smelled by any drug dog, and 2 drug dogs proved that. Unless, of course, they weren't any good in the first place. Yes, sir.
Do you think you could make out in any of these jurisdictions that there's actual policies you go beyond, and therefore those would be constitutional violations subject to a 1983 lawsuit on a class action basis?
But they could. That's what I did back in the mid-'80s. In our case, it's called McElworth versus Goodwin, and it's the consent decree. I take that back. The consent decree is not published, but a contempt order on the consent decree is. And the consent decree itself isn't mentioned publicly, but the contempt was that they were profiling and were required to do certain training to stop profiling, and then they didn't do it. They just ignored it. And it was one of those things that, well, we agreed to it, and we'll do it at our next training, and then didn't do anything for over a year. So we had the head of the Arkansas State Police held in contempt, and instead of imposing a fine, the court just said, you will do the instruction now.
Can I just say one thing?
Oh,
yeah.
And I love this, bad karma. One of the cops in that case who was involved in that, he was one of the original defendants. He violated the consent decree too. I remember reading in the newspaper that he was killed during a traffic accident during a profile stop, because it said, it had the driver's name, clearly Hispanic, pulled the guy over, and the newspaper report said he was filling out the consent form in Spanish when his patrol car was hit from the rear by a tractor trailer and was killed instantly. And all I could think of was, he's been doing this for 20 years, he's under a consent decree not to do it, he's still doing it, and then he dies by his own hand, essentially, because he pulled over the wrong guy, the wrong place, the wrong time, and then gets killed by some guy. And he was charged, the guy that ran into him was charged with negligent homicide, and all he did was reach down for the lighter in his tractor trailer and just swerved off the road by a foot and hit the guy. But that very cop, who just never paid attention to the consent decree, was died while he was filling out a consent form in Spanish.
I'll tell you later offline a karma story like that. But what I wanted to, can I just take 30 seconds to say something to the criminal defense court? I do 1983 civil rights cases in all your jurisdictions. There's at least one attorney doing 1983 civil rights cases. Talk to your civil rights 1983 attorneys. There are potential class actions here. If you see policies that seem to, indicate a pattern that is driven from the top down, you can sue on that, get injunctive relief, you get damages. All you got to do is talk to us civil attorneys. We won't fight you. We won't make you talk.
Oh, some of you
might. Just find people that you can do it with and talk to them about it. I just really, because I think there's more to this than just on the criminal side pushing us back when they go over the line. I think they need to be brought into a class action kind of way.
Aside from drug interdiction stops, Bill Buckman, a friend of mine, who's on the NACDL board, he successfully sued the New Jersey State Police and got a judgment against them, not a consent decree, but a judgment, that they were profiling African Americans and stopping them on the highway. And they prevailed big time in New Jersey and got huge attorney's fee award and massive class actions. And one way he did it, the New Jersey Turnpike, being a toll road, he sued under 1981, not 1980, as well as 1983, alleging that they had a contract right to use the highway freely like anybody else, yet that violated the contract rights of African Americans. And that reduced his burden of proof somewhat. I thought it was a pretty creative argument.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And good luck in your presidency.